Hello, welcome to the channel. My name's Matt, this is Bask in the Story, and today we are talking banned books. Following on from the most recent video, which I talked about the history of banned books, why books are banned and who's banning the books. Today we're going to look at 24 books I plan to read in 2024 that have been banned or are banned currently in some places. So we're going to run through the list. This is inspired by my friend MJ from Reading This Life, who has set up the challenge of 24 in 24. So if you want to join in, please do get involved, read banned books. What I try to do is put all these books in a rough sort of genre categories as we work through them. I'm going to start with sci-fi, so we'll move into fantasy and then sort of move through various categories. We've got a broad range of genres to cover off, though I'm quite sure I could have just done 24 sci-fi books or 24 fantasy books or 24 contemporary fiction books or 24 classics or 24 graphic novels, or, you know, there's so many books that are on ban lists somewhere that you could probably find 24 books in pretty much any genre you wanted. So we're going to run through a host of genres, and I will put in the description below the sections. If you want to look at a specific section of books, by all means do. If you're looking for ideas of which books you'd like to read, by all means look in those sections. Again, I will link a few videos to other people taking part in 24, other booktubers, so you can go and see their lists of what books they're planning in 2024. And I'll link a couple of articles down below which link to various lists of books and where they're banned. As I say, there's thousands of books to choose from. There is no shortage. And in fact, you're probably reading books that have been banned and you're not even aware of it. So we're going to start with sci-fi or speculative fiction or dystopian fiction. I'm going to start with Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. So this is a dystopian future where we have effectively a very repressive state. The main character, she's just used for breeding, and that's her role in the society, regardless of her feelings or emotions or her being a human being and wanting anything else than that. This has been banned numerous times, generally for vulgarity, profanity, being anti-Christian, anti-Islam. So there's a whole host of reasons why people want this banned. And it went so far as the publisher and Margaret Atwood actually created an unburnable copy of Handmaid's Tale. This is obviously not the unburnable copy, because the unburnable copy sold for like £130,000 in an auction. And this is a second-hand copy with the TV adaptation cover, and I'll tell you second-hand because someone's already annotated it, so I'm looking forward to seeing the annotations on it as well. So that's the first one, Handmaid's Tale. The next book I want to read, I don't own a copy of it at the moment, but it is an absolute classic of the dystopian science fiction genre, and that's A Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. So this has been banned for a whole host of reasons: profanity, nudity, anti-religious views, etc., etc. Again, but it is an absolute classic of the genre and one that I definitely want to get to. So it's got like, you know, environmental engineering. It's set in the future. You've got like an intelligence-based hierarchy in the society of some sort. So anyway, it is a story. I think it was written in the 1930s, but again, it's been banned numerous places for several reasons. So that's number 2. So next one I want to read is Cat's Cradle by Kurt Vonnegut. I've read Slaughterhouse 5, enjoyed it. Again, it's another one that's been banned, but I've read this one. So I'm going to read Cat's Cradle, which I haven't read, which again has got a satirical wit and sort of humour, but a lot of hard reading as well, talking about the place of religion, the arms race, nuclear weapons, and you know, the Hiroshima bombing, I believe, as well. And it was banned in Ohio, I think in the 70s, and no official reason was actually given, but notes from the meeting did say it was garbage and completely sick. That ban was overturned, but I want to read this garbage and see what it's like and make my own judgment. So that'll be Cat's Cradle by Kurt Vonnegut. So next on my list is The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. This is again set in the future. We have, I think, 13 districts, and there's one sort of leading district, and then the other 12 are in various states of poverty, and they have to send a draw by lottery. Each one sends a child into basically a battle royale each year, I believe. So interesting topic. It's mainly challenged around its religious viewpoint, is mainly where it's been challenged around. So I'm curious to read it. Obviously there's lots of films out about this. I think there's an original trilogy. I haven't got the first one, but I've got the other 2. But I do want to read this and see, because it is one of the very popular books, and we'll come on to another one in a minute, series that has been challenged, but I've never read. So, Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. Next, we're going to move more into the fantasy genre, and certainly magical, what we class as magical realism, and that is the Satanic Verses by Salman Rushdie. This is obviously massively critically acclaimed, but also incredibly controversial book. I talked about this more in the previous video. There was fatwa issued against Salman Rushdie and several attempts on his life, and people who worked on the book, so I believe a Japanese translator was murdered as part of that as well. And obviously Salman Rushdie was attacked fairly recently as well, and has lost sight in one eye and the use of one hand as well. But it is massively critically acclaimed. It's magical realism. I think there's a lot of dream sequences as well, but it is one I'm very curious to read and to see what it's like. It's just because of the critical acclaim and the controversy, I'm incredibly curious. I've not read any Salman Rushdie, so this is my first, but I'm going to read the Satanic Verses. So we mentioned Hunger Games as a very popular series that has faced controversy and challenges. The other really popular series that has faced controversy and challenges is the Harry Potter series, and by J.K. Rowling. So I've actually read, or I'm in the process of reading Harry Potter for the first time, and I've read the first, I'm on the 6th one, so I've got the final one to read, which is Harry Potter and Deathly Hallows, which I'll read in 2024 to complete the series. We've got magic in the world, we've got young kids going to school, magic school, Harry Potter. Do I need to explain what this story is? Probably not. Why is it being banned? For, again, a host of reasons. Witchcraft being one, anti-religious, the nefarious means the protagonists use to get their results, the use of, I think in this one quote at one point, the use of real spells, and I've not learned any real spells yet from reading the first 6, but maybe in the 7th one I will learn how to do a real spell, and obviously the occult. So there you go. So that's why it's all banned. But yeah, another massive series, massively popular series that has faced bans and challenges. So I want to finish the Harry Potter series, and that final book is The Deathly Hallows. Next is Bridge to Terabithia. Terabithia, is that how you say it? Not sure. By Catherine Patterson. This is about 2 kids who create an imaginary forest in their imaginations. That's why it's an imaginary forest, Matthew. Pull yourself together. Okay. This is about 2 children who create a magical, I think, forest kingdom in their imaginations, basically. And it's been challenged for occultism, Satanism, and offensive language, I believe. So this one I'm curious about. Continuing with fantasy, but moving into graphic novels, I want to read Saga by Brian Vaughan and Fiona Staples. This is about a continuous intergalactic war, 2 warriors on opposite sides, meeting, falling in love, having a child, and that relationship in that setting. This has been challenged for a whole host of reasons, being anti-family, for nudity, offensive language, sexually explicit. I'm curious, I haven't read any graphic novels really, so this is one I definitely want to delve into, but that's Saga, and there's several volumes of that as well to read. So continuing with graphic novels, picture books really, and this is A Day in the Life of Marlon Bundo by Jill Twiss and illustrated by E.G. Keller. So this came about, so this is a story about a bunny, a fictional day in the life of a bunny called Marlon Bundo, who is Vice President Mike Pence's bunny, and this Marlon Bundo's gay relationship with another bunny. So that is the story. It was sort of sponsored by, created by Last Week's Night and John Oliver, and all the proceeds I believe are going to I think an AIDS charity. But this has been challenged for a huge number of reasons, but mainly around LGBTQ IA plus reasons, and that is the main driver, and same-sex marriage is the main driver. But I want to read it, I want to buy it, I want to support the charities as well. It's for a good cause. So that is next on the list. The next graphic novel is difficult it sort of falls maybe more biography, but it's Mouse by Art Spiegelman, and it's about his father's time in the Holocaust, and this was banned because I think it gains a scene of nudity and I believe also for offensive language. So there's reasons it's banned, but it's obviously also highly critically acclaimed graphic novel as well. So I'm very curious to read that. Continuing on the graphic novels, I'm moving from biography to memoir. I want to read Persepolis by Marjane Satrapi. Again, apologies for mispronunciation of names. So Persepolis is about her life as a child and I believe to a young adult living in Iran and Austria during the Islamic Revolution. And the main reason it's challenged is I believe it goes down to as offensive language, gambling, political viewpoint are the main reasons for it being challenged, and I think it's also is sort of politically, racially and socially offensive, I think was one of the phrases that was used to tag the banning of this book. So continuing with the graphic novel memoir, I've got Genderqueer by Maya Kobabe. This is an autobiography and is mainly challenged around LGBTQIA plus issues and for being sexually explicit. So whether it is, but it seems like everything is challenged for LGBTQIA plus reasons is classed is also challenged as sexually explicit. So I want to read it and see whether that is true or not. Okay, so moving out of the graphic novels, we'll stay with memoirs. I've got All Boys Aren't Blue by George M. Johnson. And this is a series of essays by the author relating to his childhood and I believe into his college years. And it's his memories and him telling stories of being black and queer. So again, should be fascinating. Again, challenge for its LGBTQIA plus content and again claimed to be sexually explicit. So we shall find out. So continuing with the memoirs autobiographies, we've got Maya Angelou's I Know Why the Cage Bird Sings. This is generally challenged over racism, homosexuality, sexually explicit, offensive language, and various other reasons. But again, is a very highly regarded book to be read. Next, we're going to move on to Toni Morrison. So there's two from Toni Morrison, Beloved and The Bluest Eye. We'll start with The Bluest Eye. So this is about a young girl, I think she's 11 years old, and she wants her eyes to be blue so she can be beautiful like the blue-eyed, blonde-haired girls of America. Her life changes dramatically and for the worse when she is that young, and it's again a highly acclaimed book. I imagine it's going to be very hard reading. It's generally challenged for its depictions of sexual abuse and claimed to be sexually explicit. So Beloved, the other one by Toni Morrison, is set in the American Civil War. It tells the story of a dysfunctional family of former slaves, and I believe there's a malevolent spirit as well. Common reasons for censorship are bestiality, infanticide, sex and violence. So continuing with historical fiction, we have got The Kite Runner by Khaled Hosseini. So this is about a young boy in Afghanistan who has to flee when Russia invades and flees to America, and it's about his return, his redemption story. And this is main challenge for being sexually explicit and offensive language. But again, another highly acclaimed book. So you'll notice a lot of these books are highly acclaimed that are challenged regularly. But that's The Kite Runner by Khaled Hosseini. Next is Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry by Mildred D. Taylor. This is about the Logan family who live, I believe, in Mississippi in the 1930s. It's around segregation, Jim Crow laws, black land ownership, and several other key points, but I've not read it, so I'm not knowing them all. But it's mainly, the main challenges it gets is around offensive language. So again, I need to read it and we'll find out, but that is next on the list. Again, historical fiction. So next we got a couple of classics. We're going to start with Of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck. This is actually a novella. It follows two migrant ranch workers who travel around from place to place, I think in California, during the Great Depression. And it's mainly challenged on offensive language and racism, I believe. So that is next. And the other classic, I suppose it would be classed as a classic, is J.D. Salinger's Catcher in the Rye. So I believe it's a coming of age story, and it's one of those books that appears in a lot of top 100 lists to read. So, and I've not read it, so I want to read it. Again, it's mainly challenged over offensive language. So we'll see whether that is still the case or not. So let's move into some more contemporary fiction. Let's start with Looking for Alaska by John Green. Again, it's a coming of age story, and it's mainly challenged for LGBTQIA plus content and claimed to be sexually explicit. Again, as I've said previously, all LGBTQIA plus content seems to fall into this claim to be sexually explicit category as well. So that's next. Then we've got Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky. Again, this is a coming of age story, and it's challenged over a depiction of sexual abuse, LGBTQIA plus content, and claimed to be sexually explicit. Oh, and drug use and profanity, I believe. So there's that one. So then we've got the Absolutely True Diary of a Part-Time Indian by Alexi Sherman. This is again seems to be a coming of age story, and it seems to be based on, I believe it's based on the author's own life as well. But it's about a budding cartoonist who leaves the school on the reservation and goes to an all-white farm school in the local town, I believe, and it's mainly challenged around profanity and being sexually explicit. The 24th book on my list is The Curious Incident of the Dog in Nighttime by Mark Haddon. So this is a contemporary mystery novel, and it's about a boy, I believe, who I think is on the autism spectrum, and they're investigating the death of the neighbour's dog. That's the mystery they're trying to solve. So this is mainly challenged for profanity and religious viewpoint. So again, this is the final one I read. This is the 24th book I want to read in my list for 24 in 24. So there's a huge range of books. We've got sci-fi, fantasy, we've got contemporary fiction, we've got historical fiction, we've got memoirs, we've got a mystery. So, you know, all kinds of books are being banned. You'll probably see some themes throughout of reasons for banning. And if you check out the previous video I did, that'll give you more detail around that. If you are planning to join us and reading some banned books in 2024, please do let me know in the comments down below. Is there any books that you particularly definitely want to read next year? And if you are interested in joining the challenge, then check out MJ's channel, which I'll link down below, as she is hosting the 24 in 24 reading challenge. I think that's all I've got to say. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed what you have seen, please do like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.